Good evening, my Real News Media TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update. And in the news this evening, man hospitalized after allegedly stabbing wife to death. A Clarendon man is now hospitalized under police guard following the alleged murder of his 33-year-old wife. The deceased has been identified as Sasheen Williams of Cupid District, Frankfield in Clarendon. Charged with her murder is Henry Williams, also known as Bartel, a 39-year-old chef. The news understands that at approximately 12:05 a.m. Tuesday, Sasheen and Henry were at home with their children when a dispute escalated into a physical fight. It is alleged that Henry used a knife to inflict multiple stab wounds on Sasheen and then set their house on fire. The police said the children managed to escape unharmed, and with the help of residents, Sasheen was pulled from the burning house. The police and the firefighters were summoned. Upon the extinguishing of the fire, the lawmen found Sasheen's body in the yard with multiple stab wounds and burn marks. She was taken to hospital where she was pronounced dead. Henry later turned himself into the police. He reported he had injuries. Teens charged with 2024 murder of taxi driver. Two boys, a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old, have been charged in connection with the murder of a taxi driver in October 2024. Dead is 49-year-old Vern Joseph of Mannings Hill District, Stony Hill in St. Andrew. Reports from the Constant Spring Police are that about 7:26 p.m. on October 26, 2024, the teen boys and a man boarded a white Toyota Probox operated by Joseph on the grounds of a charter. The police said at some point during the ride near Essex Hall Main Road in Content District, Lawrence Tavern, the male passenger brandished a firearm and proceeded to make demands of Joseph. Joseph reportedly attempted to drive the car into a gully to avoid being harmed. The man then opened gunfire, hitting Joseph in the head, and the motor car crashed into a retaining wall. The two juveniles and the man allegedly exited the vehicle and attempted to escape. However, they were intercepted by angry residents. It is reported that the man used his firearm to ward off the furious residents and made his escape by foot. The police were summoned and the teens were handed over to them. Joseph's body was later discovered slumped in the passenger seat of his vehicle. The teens and Joseph were taken to the hospital where Joseph was pronounced dead, and the juveniles were admitted, treated and released into the police's custody. On Monday, April 7, the teens were charged with murder, possession of a prohibited weapon, unauthorized possession of ammunition, conspiracy to murder, and using a firearm to commit a felony, based on CCTV footage obtained and witness statements. Efforts are now underway to apprehend the third suspect. A court date for the teens is being finalized. Farmer confesses to relatives' murder. A farmer has been slapped with several charges after allegedly killing his relative and leaving the body overnight. 27-year-old Alton Levy, otherwise called Doop Dap of Rock Hall, St. Andrew, has been charged with murder, using a firearm to commit an offense, possession of a prohibited weapon, and unauthorized possession of ammunition following the shooting death of 33-year-old Fabian Carr, otherwise called the Pop, of Burkwood District. Reports from the Constant Spring Police are that on Monday, March 17, about 8 a.m., the police received information about a body seen in a house in the Burkwood community. The lawmen visited the location and the car was seen lying on his back in a pool of blood with multiple gunshot wounds. An investigation was launched and Levy turned himself into the police on Thursday and confessed to the offense. It was revealed that about 7:30 p.m. on Sunday, March 16, Levy and the car had a disagreement which escalated into a physical fight, during which Levy brandished a firearm and opened the gunfire at the car, hitting him in the head and upper body. He later brought the police to where he hid the murder weapon and gave a statement thereafter. He was formally charged on Monday, April 7. His court date is being finalized. 23-year-old man charged for killing a woman at her bar in New Green, Manchester. 23-year-old Anthony Bailey A construction worker from the Barrett Peace District in Kendal, Manchester, has been charged in connection with the 2024 shooting death of a woman at her bar in New Green district of the parish. Bailey has been charged by the Manchester Criminal Investigation Branch with murder, shooting with intent, conspiracy to commit shooting with intent, possession of a prohibited weapon, unauthorized possession of ammunition, and using a firearm to commit a felony. After nearly a year on the run, Bailey was apprehended on Wednesday, April 2, 2025, during an operation in Kendal District, Manchester. Bailey is accused of killing 46-year-old Kerry Nicole Airy, a bartender from Cumberland in Portmore, St. Catherine. According to the police, at approximately 12:44 p.m. on May 1, 2024, Airy was at her bar when armed men entered, demanded money, and opened the fire, hitting her. Another woman was also injured in the attack. Both women were rushed to the hospital, where Airy succumbed to her injuries, while the bystander was treated and released. Bailey was officially charged on Friday, April 4, after a question-and-answer session with his attorney. A court date for him is being finalized. Some NWC systems test positive for E.coli, but no need to boil water, says MOH. The Ministry of Health and Wellness is reporting that some water samples from systems operated by the National Water Commission have tested positive for the bacteria E.coli, but says there is currently no cause for alarm. The ministry says it has not been deemed necessary to ask a resident to boil water before use. It explains that occurrences such as these are not unusual, particularly during drought conditions, falling pipe breakages, heavy rainfall, or other environmental contamination events. In such instances, the ministry, through its established protocols, initiates an investigation to determine the cause, assess the extent of contamination, and guide the necessary corrective actions. This process is carried out in partnership with the NWC, municipal corporations, and other water providers. It is important to clarify that a boil water advisory is a public health precaution issued solely by the medical officer of health, the authority responsible for safeguarding public health within each parish. This advisory is issued when there is an imminent risk of waterborne disease and typically applies to a specific geographic area affected by compromised water supply systems. Boil water advisories are localized and not parish-wide, except in the case of major natural disasters such as hurricanes, flooding, or earthquakes that significantly impact water quality. The Health Ministry says it continues to monitor the situation closely and remains committed to ensuring the safety and the well-being of all citizens. Maria Deane's cell floor was wet with a blood-like substance coming from drain pipe when investigator arrived. Detective Constable Ricardo Evans, the police forensic investigator currently testifying in the Maria Deane trial, today told the Westmoreland Circuit Court that the floor of the cell where Deane was beaten on August 3, 2014 was wet when he arrived there to carry out his investigations. Evans, who is the third police witness in the trial of Corporal Elaine Stewart and the constables Juliana Clevan and Marlon Grant, also testified that prior to entering the cell block at the Barnett Street Police Station in St. James, where Deane was in custody for possession of a ganja spliff, he saw a blood-like substance coming from a drain pipe attached to the cell block. Evans told the court that he saw 3 drain pipes in the vicinity of the cell block. He admitted that he could not say which of the pipes was connected to the cell where Deane was beaten. The 3 police officers are currently on trial for manslaughter and misconduct in a public office in relation to Deane's death. Stewart is also charged with perverting the course of justice under allegations that she ordered the cell where Deane was beaten to be cleaned before the arrival of Independent Commission of Investigations representatives. Meanwhile, the witness also testified that after he collected swab samples of blood splatter in the vicinity of the cell and photographed the scene, he was given 3 plastic bags with items of clothing belonging to inmates Marvin Orr, Adrian Morgan, and Damian Cargill. or Morgan and Cargill, were previously tried with murder in relation to Deane's death, but they were eventually deemed unfit to stand the trial due to being deaf, mute, and mentally challenged. Thank you everyone for watching. See you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. for another news update.